After 60, it's not just me. Many begin to feel the quiet distance between themselves and the world around them. When something deep within you whispers that you don't quite see the world the way others do. You can't fully explain it, and perhaps you've never been able to. It's as though you've learned to hear melodies in the world that others cannot, notes that resonate with ancient wisdom yet feel freshly discovered. I'm Vernon. Today, I'll share with you 5 signs that your soul has entered a truly special phase after 60, qualities that might be invisible or even misunderstood by others, yet represent the flowering of your deepest self. Pay particular attention to the 3rd sign, which often creates the greatest disconnect between your inner experience and others' perception of you, yet offers perhaps the most profound opportunity for spiritual freedom. Carl Jung once said that special souls are not born in comfort, but are forged in the silent fire of introspection. And maybe that explains it. Maybe that's why, even as a child, you often felt like you didn't belong, like your soul came from another time, another place entirely. While others ran toward the noise, you turned inward. While the world focused on what was outside, you were busy exploring the universe within. And that too came with a cost, a deep, often aching loneliness. Not because you were alone, but because you felt that no one else truly understood the way you feel things, the way you are. Before we explore these 5 signs together, make sure you're subscribed, and feel free to share this video with someone who might quietly need it too. Are you ready to explore these subtle yet profound signs that your soul has entered extraordinary territory? Let's begin with the first sign, a quality that others often misinterpret as simple contentment, yet runs much deeper than mere satisfaction with circumstances. Number 1. The quiet peace that confounds others. There's a particular quality I began to notice in my friend Catherine shortly after her 65th birthday. A quiet, settled presence that seemed to radiate from somewhere beyond personality or circumstance. One morning, while we were having coffee, her phone rang with unsettling news. Her investment portfolio had taken a significant hit due to market volatility. What struck me wasn't just that she remained calm. Many people can appear composed when needed. It was that her serenity felt entirely unforced. There was no trace of tension behind her stillness, no internal debate she was trying to silence. It wasn't a piece she performed, it was a piece she had become. Later, when I gently asked her about it, Catherine simply said she used to chase peace like it was a goal. But now, somehow, it finds her, even when life doesn't cooperate. This, I've come to realize, is the first sign that your soul has entered extraordinary territory after 60. A quiet peace that does not depend on life going smoothly, and that often confuses those still measuring serenity by the absence of storms. It's not that emotions disappear, grief, frustration, uncertainty still visit, but they move through you the way clouds drift across an open sky, present but never permanent. In a world that values striving, this effortless calm can seem puzzling, even suspicious. Yet neuroscience tells us it's real. A study published in the Journal of Gerontological Psychology found that adults over 60 who report this kind of peace show brainwave activity similar to that of experienced meditators, even if they've never formally meditated. It seems the brain, with enough lived experience, remembers how to rest. So what can you do if that peace hasn't yet arrived? Start by creating gentle space in your day, moments with no agenda, no input, no obligation. Even 5 minutes of intentional stillness can begin to soften the noise. Spend more time with people or environments that don't require you to perform or explain yourself. And perhaps most importantly, let go of the timeline. Peace often arrives quietly, not as a breakthrough, but as something that slowly replaces the need to search. Just knowing that this kind of inner stillness is not only possible, but natural in later life, can offer its own kind of calm. Now, we turn to the second sign, a quality that deepens this quiet peace and reveals another layer of soulful awareness that only time and reflection can uncover. Number 2. Intuitive, knowing beyond logic and reason. At a certain age, clarity begins arriving in quieter forms. It doesn't shout or prove itself, it simply appears, complete and calm, like a truth you've always known but just remembered. This is the second sign your soul has stepped into extraordinary territory after 60, an intuitive knowing that it no longer needs the scaffolding of logic to stand. It's not that reason is abandoned, it's that it becomes one voice in a larger choir of wisdom. Philosopher Henri Bergson described this as seeing with the soul, an intelligence that recognizes truth without having to dissect it first. I first noticed this shift in myself when a longtime colleague offered me a partnership in a new project. Everything about it looked solid, proven model, excellent team, low risk. Yet something in me hesitated. I felt an unease I couldn't justify logically, but I honored it. Months later, the venture collapsed due to internal conflict no one could have predicted. That experience taught me to stop dismissing what I couldn't explain. Intuition isn't less valid because it's quieter. It's often more so. Science agrees. Studies from the Max Planck Institute show that as we age, our brain's ability to recognize patterns and extract meaning from complex situations actually improves. It's what researchers call crystallized intelligence, the ability to sense what fits, what flows, and what doesn't, often without needing to ask why. So how do we strengthen this kind of knowing? Spend more time in stillness. Intuition doesn't compete with noise. Listen to your first response before your brain starts editing it. Reflect on past moments when your inner knowing was quietly, unmistakably right, and let that be your compass going forward. Because this isn't magic. It's the natural reward of a life fully lived and finally, fully trusted. Have you experienced moments when you just knew something important without being able to explain how you knew? If you feel drawn to share such an experience, tap the like button and leave a comment below. Your story might help others recognize and honor this capacity within themselves. Number 3. The mysterious distance from material attachments. When we continue exploring the soul's extraordinary evolution after 60, we come to a sign that is often misunderstood by others, yet quietly liberating for those who experience it. A gentle, almost mysterious distance from material attachments. I witnessed this firsthand while helping my friend Thomas downsize from his beloved home of over 3 decades to a simpler apartment. As we sifted through years of memories, I expected to encounter hesitation, especially when handling deeply personal items like his rare book collection, travel-worn artwork, or heirlooms passed down through generations. But instead of clinging, Thomas moved through the process with a kind of quiet clarity, not cold, not rushed, just peaceful. The moment that stayed with me most was when we reached a beautiful antique desk where he had written for years. I asked if it was hard to let go. He smiled and said, "That desk served him well. But he is no longer the man who needed it." The words, "the growth that all lives in him now, not in the wood." There was no performance in his tone, just an authentic release. This is the third sign your soul has entered deeper territory, an inner loosening of attachment to things once tightly held, not because they lost meaning, but because their meaning has now moved inward. Objects become markers of memory, not containers of identity. The Buddha taught that clinging to impermanent things is the root of suffering. What's remarkable is how this detachment often arises not through rigorous spiritual discipline, but through decades of simply living, watching things come and go, and realizing that peace remains. This quality also beautifully complements the two signs we've already explored: a natural peace not tied to circumstances, and an intuitive knowing that requires no proof. When the soul is no longer entangled with possessions, it becomes more available to presence, wisdom, and stillness. To those watching from the outside, especially younger generations, this shift can be misread as indifference or emotional detachment. But research suggests otherwise. A study from Northwestern University's Lifespan Development Lab found that after 60, the brain's reward system begins to recalibrate. Material gains elicit less dopamine, while meaningful experiences and connections continue to nourish the brain in powerful ways. What might seem like losing interest is actually a deepening discernment about what truly matters. How can you begin embracing this lightness? Try reflecting on what an object has given you, rather than what you might lose without it. When downsizing or decluttering, ask, does this still serve who I am becoming? Speak with loved ones openly about this change so they understand it's not apathy, but clarity. We'll continue this exploration in the next Signone that reveals yet another profound dimension of your soul's quiet expansion in later life. Number 4. Temporal awareness that transcends ordinary time. Some changes in later life arrive so subtly, we only recognize them in hindsight. One of the most profound and often least understood is a shift in how we experience time itself. Not a decline in memory or focus, but a quiet expansion. Suddenly, the boundary between then and now becomes more porous. The past doesn't feel gone, it feels accessible. The future isn't a destination, it's a resonance we can already feel. This is the 4th sign your soul has entered extraordinary territory after 60, a deepened relationship with time that transcends its usual linear rhythm. Rather than being confined by clock and calendar, you begin to sense the interconnectedness of events across decades, as if life itself were revealing a larger pattern only visible from your current vantage point. The ancient Greeks described this beautifully with 2 words for time: chronosti, measurable, forward, ticking time, and kairosti, ripe, meaningful time that arises when soul and circumstance meet. What many begin to inhabit after 60 is kairosa mode of time that honors depth over duration. This shift brings to mind the experience of acclaimed author and activist Maya Angelou. In her later years, she often spoke about how memories from her early life began surfacing not as nostalgia, but as guiding wisdom. In interviews, she recalled moments from childhood with vivid clarity, often connecting them to present decisions with uncanny precision. "Everything in my life," she once said, "prepared me for everything else." This seamless integration of past and present reflects exactly the kind of temporal awareness we're describing. Neuroscience offers support for this phenomenon. Research into the brain's default mode network has found that older adults often exhibit more interconnected temporal processing, allowing them to recall, reflect, and anticipate with a kind of narrative wholeness younger brains are still too fragmented to access. So what can you do to deepen this awareness? First, honor the memories that arise. Instead of brushing them off as random or irrelevant, treat them as cues from your inner timeline, asking what unfinished insight they might be pointing to. Second, keep a reflective journal not just of recent events, but of the patterns you're noticing across time. What themes keep reappearing? What cycles feel like they're completing? Finally, resist the cultural rush to always move forward. Sometimes, slowing down to re-inhabit moments from the past isn't regression, it's integration. I would deeply appreciate it if you'd share this video with someone who might benefit from recognizing these soul qualities in themselves or someone they love. When we normalize these developments as wisdom rather than decline, we honor the full arc of human development. As we move into the final sign of the soul's development after 60, Notice how each of these transformation species, intuition, detachment, and now temporal expansion are not separate traits, but facets of a deeper wholeness emerging from within. Number 5. The compassionate detachment that others misinterpret. Among the most profound shifts I've noticed since crossing 60 is this. My heart still opens just as wide, but I no longer feel the urge to carry what isn't mine. What used to pull me into stress and urgency, trying to fix, rescue, or persuade, now meets a quieter, deeper kind of presence. I still care deeply, but I care differently. This is the 5th and final sign your soul has entered extraordinary territory. After 60, a quality of compassionate detachment. It allows you to remain fully attuned to others without being swept into their emotional tides. You're still present, still loving, but you're no longer defined by their chaos or driven to manage their outcomes. I remember a phone call from a relative a few years ago, of those conversations filled with drama, blame, and frantic energy. In the past, I would have jumped in with advice, tried to fix the situation, or absorbed the emotional chaos as if it were my own. But this time, I did something different. I simply listened. I let the silence between us become a soft landing place for their words. When they finished, I responded calmly, offering a quiet expression of trust in their ability to navigate it on their own. That moment marked a shift, not just in me, but in how they began to relate to me, from dependency to a kind of mutual respect that hadn't existed before. Ancient traditions knew this space well. The Bhagavad Gita describes it as inaction, engagement without entanglement. You're no longer driven by an egoic impulse to intervene. You've come to trust the dignity of others' journeys. This connects seamlessly to the temporal awareness we just explored. When you've lived long enough to see patterns unfold over decades, today's crisis becomes one thread in a much larger fabric. You learn to hold both urgency and patience at one perspective, many misread as aloofness when it's actually wisdom. Contemporary research affirms this evolution. A Stanford longitudinal study on emotional development found that emotional regulation and boundary clarity continue to strengthen well into our 70s and 80s, particularly among those who reflect regularly and seek growth. What younger generations may mistake as not caring is often the mature soul's most advanced form of love, grounded, non-controlling, and respectfully spacious. So, how can we nurture this quality further? Begin by recognizing when your impulse to help comes from discomfort rather than clarity. Breathe and let the discomfort pass before speaking. Practice saying supportive truths that leave space. I believe in your strength, or I'm here not to fix, but to walk with you. And most importantly, trust that love without control is not lesser love, it is higher love. Before we move to our conclusion, I'd like to ask, have you experienced others misinterpreting your evolved perspective as lack of caring? Or perhaps you've recognized this quality in an elder in your life whom you previously misunderstood. Leave in the comment. Your perspective might help bridge the understanding gap for others navigating similar relationship dynamics. Nurturing your extraordinary soul qualities. Looking back across the 5 signs: natural peace, intuitive knowing, lightened attachment, temporal expansion, and now compassionate detachment, it becomes clear. This isn't decline, it's refined. Your soul isn't fading, it's clarifying. As we draw our exploration to a close, you might be wondering, if I recognize some or all of these signs within myself, how can I honor and nurture these soul qualities? And if I don't yet experience them fully, is there a way to create fertile ground for their emergence? The paradox of soul development after 60 is that these qualities emerge most naturally, not through striving or technique, but through recognition and permission. Unlike earlier stages of growth that often require deliberate effort and practice, this phase flourishes primarily through acknowledgement and trust. I'd like to offer 5 simple practices that can nurture and honor the extraordinary qualities your soul is naturally developing after 60. First, carve out moments of silence each day, not as a task, but as a gift. Natural peace thrives in quiet spaces that reflect its essence. Even 10 minutes of stillness without an agenda can nourish more deeply than hours of effort. Second, honor your intuition with a simple journaling habit. When insights arise, jot them down without judgment. Over time, you'll begin to see how your deepest wisdom speaks. Third, adopt small, lightening rituals, letting go of items, habits, or beliefs that no longer fit. This isn't dramatic renunciation, but gentle space, making for what truly matters now. Fourth, embrace contemplative practices that reflect your evolving sense of time, life reviews for integration, or meditations that reveal the present as a meeting place of past and future. Finally, practice what Pema Chodron calls compassionate abiding, being present with your own and others' experiences without needing to fix them. It's this quiet steadiness that allows your wisdom to be felt most clearly in the lives of those around you. Conclusion. The soul stewardship in later years. The poet Mary Oliver asked, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" This question retains its power and urgency, even perhaps especially after 60, when the soul enters terrain that may be invisible to others, yet represents the fulfillment of your unique journey. These 5 signs of extraordinary soul development aren't measures of spiritual achievement or markers of superiority. They are natural unfoldings of human consciousness, given sufficient time and experience, the fruit of a life fully lived and deeply considered. Whether you recognize all, some, or none of these qualities in yourself today, simply knowing they exist as possibilities can help you perceive your ongoing development with greater clarity and trust. Let this be the beginning of a deeper conversation. Like, share, and comment to support thoughtful content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so these reflections continue finding their way to you, exactly when you're ready to hear them. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the soul's extraordinary journey after 60.